Welcome again to ITS 129. Today, let's talk a little bit about normalization. Wow, what a really big word. What normalization really means is to take a look at your tables and the fields in them to make sure that they're efficient, there's no duplication or as little duplication as possible, and that you're working on the design of your database, one table at a time. So let's take a look at normalization. First of all, normalization talks about it in three stages. The three stages are first normal form, second normal form, and third normal form. So the first normal form is really the toughest one. That's where you're really taking a lot of raw data or raw rows and really trying to fine tune it as best as possible. Yeah. For example, let's take a look at this first table. This first table is what's in the design right now. You have a salesperson, and customer number one, number two, number three. Well, it's really inefficient because what if there's a fourth customer, or fifth customer, or sixth customer? Do we have to always keep redesigning that table? Well, what we're going to be doing in the normalization process is we're going to be taking this starting database, starting table, and then we're going to take it all the way so that it has 5 tables. Wow. How come five? One is better? No. One is less efficient than 5 tables working in unison. So let's go back to that first normal form again, and let's go and talk about it. Now, the first normal form really has these 5 questions over here. Does the table have rows and columns? Yeah. Does each field have a single value? Now, for example, first name, most of us have a single first name, but there are some, Billy, Bob, Sally, Joe are examples, but those are exceptions. By and large, a field should only have one entry. One entry. That makes it easier to sort, that makes it easier to search on. Yeah. Every column must have the same kind of data. So you don't mix date data and you don't mix text data or numbers data all in one column. It should be the same. Each column should have one unique first name field or one unique last name field. So it should not have multiple first name fields, multiple last name fields. Only one field with that name. And no 2 rows should be identical. So if you identify 2 rows, 2 records that are exactly the same, then you need to get rid of one. Now, let's take an example of fixing in the first normal form. So this is the starting table. Wow, very, has a lot of data. It's starting to look almost like a spreadsheet. If you kind of spread it out, it looks like a spreadsheet, customer number 1, 2, and 3. Once again, what if there's a 4 and 5? It makes it very inefficient. So in the first normal form, we look at it, we say, well, yeah, there are 2 different entities here, right? There's a salesperson and there's a customer. So we separate them out. We separate one into a sales staff, yeah, and then we put in a customer table. So what that means is that even though a customer bought or was serviced many times by the sales staff, we enter that customer name only once, only once. And a sales staff person can be entered only once as well. We'll talk a little bit later about this thing called foreign key. But really what it does is try to make sure that your tables are starting to become more efficient. Now let's go on to the second normal form. Now the second normal form says, well, it has to adhere to the rules of the first normal form, and there are no column, no fields that are not dependent on the primary key. So as you can see, we have an employee ID primary key. So that means that all the information on this table should be on that employee, the salesperson, right? So if you have other information, you say, well, yeah, that person belongs to a particular sales office, and the sales office has a office number. Well, really what it is that the sales staff and the sales office are 2 separate entities over here. Now, The second normal form also says that, yeah, it has to adhere to as much as possible to the customer ID. But as you can see, I have an employee ID foreign key field, which is used to go and link with the employee table, the sales staff table here. We'll talk a little bit more about foreign keys a little bit later. Well, to remedy so that you don't have two employee ID fields sticking out over here, what happens is you start making a transactional table. Yeah? And we did that in assignment 2. Now, the purpose of the transactional table is such that you can have a customer having many salesperson, and a salesperson can serve many different customers. That's why we create a transactional table to create a many-to-many relationship. Yeah. Now, the third normal form is really about fine-tuning. Now, they use words like transitive dependency. Wow, what a big word. What it really means is to make sure that, as you go in and create your tables, that it has as little replication as possible, so that when you search on it, that you're not pulling in, some problems, some invalid entries here and there. So the way that we do that is the customer, city, state, and postal code. Those things really should go in its own table. Yeah, so that's why we changed it here. Now, what that does is that, say, for example, we have a customer table and you enter data on the customer, and just so happen you make a mistake. So you enter here 96747 or 96770, and you put in the city IAL, something like that. Well, that's an error, right? Because IA is 96701. Well, as long as you enter the proper postal code, what it will do is, with the fix, it will bring up the proper city and state, right? So what you want to do is you want to separate that out so that there are little problems for things like data entry problems and those kind of things. So you don't have the city postal code 96707 for one customer, it says Aiea, and for another customer, it says Honolulu, right? So you kind of want to make sure that that's eliminated as much as possible. Data entry problems will happen, absolutely will happen. But what you will try to do is you're going to try and eliminate the possibility as much as possible. So we went from that one big table and we separated into 5 tables where single entry for customer and employee and sales staff can be entered, and postal as well, so can be entered so that we don't have duplicates. Yeah, we cannot have duplicates there. Yeah, so that's called the normalization process. It's a lot of thinking, but as you go through it, as you do it more and more often, you're going to find that it becomes much, much easier. Thank you, and see you the next time.